Okay, so get this right. Rosalind Franklin, a scientist back in the 1950s, had all her lab notes, like, confiscated by her own family. They were so worried that her work would be seen as, like, way too radical for a woman of that time. Can you imagine, like, having your, like, life's work hidden away like that?
Wow.
So, yeah, today we're diving deep into the world of Rosalind Franklin. This brilliant scientist helped unlock the secrets of DNA, but she faced, like, so many challenges along the way. And you've given us a lot to work with here. Articles, research, even some of Franklin's personal letters.
It is intriguing to see those personal letters included. They really offer, a rare glimpse into Franklin's thoughts and her struggles, beyond just the science.
It's like we're peeking into history, So let's start at the beginning. With Rosalind's early life, she was born in London back in 1920. And, like, right from the start, she showed this real passion for science.
And what's remarkable is even in that time, when girls were, often discouraged from pursuing science, Franklin excelled, like, academically. She even went as a study at Cambridge University, which was, a huge deal back then, especially for a woman.
Yeah, it's like she was determined to break down those barriers right from the beginning. But I was reading that even at Cambridge, it wasn't exactly like a walk in the park for her.
Oh, absolutely not. Women at Cambridge, they faced serious limitations. They couldn't even get full degrees back then.
Really?
Yeah, but Franklin didn't let that stop her. She earned her PhD in chemistry and went on to specialize in this technique called X-ray crystallography.
Oh, yeah, X-ray crystallography. That's like the technique that allowed scientists to visualize the structures of molecules, right? It's like having like a superpowered microscope that can see the building blocks of matter.
Exactly. And Franklin, her skill with X-ray crystallography was, like, exceptional. She was producing these incredibly detailed images, which were really, really crucial for understanding these complex structures, especially something as intricate as DNA. And, this expertise, this is what placed her right at the center of one of the biggest scientific races of the 20th century, the race to understand the structure of DNA.
It's like the whole scientific world was, like, holding its breath, waiting for someone to crack the code of life itself. And Rosalind Franklin, she's right there in the thick of it. So in the early 1950s, she's working at King's College London, and she's focusing her research on DNA fibers.
Right, and this is where things get really interesting, because in 1952, Franklin captures this particularly striking image known as photograph 51. And it wasn't just any photograph. This image, it revealed the double helix structure of DNA, the very blueprint of life.
It's like this one image was like a beacon, illuminating the path towards understanding, our genetic inheritance. But as we dig deeper into this story, we're going to see how Franklin's contribution wasn't always, acknowledged.
That's right. We have two other scientists, James Watson and Francis Crick. They were also working on a DNA puzzle at Cambridge University. It was a fiercely competitive environment, everyone racing to be the first to unlock the secrets of the double helix.
A real race to the finish line. Okay, so then things take a bit of a controversial turn, right? Franklin's colleague, Maurice Williams, he shows photograph 51 to Watson and Crick without her knowledge or her permission.
And this act, it's been the subject of so much debate and ethical scrutiny. It gave Watson and Crick a crucial piece of the puzzle, like a leg up in the race, without Franklin's consent.
Wow. Imagine working so hard on something like that, a breakthrough, and then someone else takes the credit. This incident, it brings up so many questions, doesn't it, about scientific collaboration, competition, and, like, recognition for individual contributions. It's a real reminder that the pursuit of knowledge is not always a straightforward path.
It really isn't. And, this incident played such a significant role in how the story of DNA's discovery unfolded, it often overshadowing Franklin's crucial contribution.
Yeah, so even amidst all this controversy, Franklin continued her research, and she's making significant strides in other areas of science.
Right. Her work went beyond DNA. She moved on to Birkbeck College and made crucial contributions to our understanding of viruses, particularly the tobacco mosaic virus. This work, it laid the foundation for modern virology, and it impacts our fight against viral diseases, even today.
Wow. So not only did she contribute to unlocking the secrets of DNA, but she also helped us understand these tiny yet powerful entities that can cause so much illness. It's like her scientific curiosity just knew no bounds. But let's take us back for a moment and really unpack the significance of her DNA work first.
It's, like, mind-boggling, to think that this one image, photograph 51, it played, like, such a pivotal role and one of the biggest scientific discoveries of all time. It's like a visual echo of the very essence of life.
It really is. It makes you wonder, though, what would have happened if things had played out differently, right? Would Franklin have gotten more recognition for her role if Photograph 51 hadn't been shared, without her consent?
It's a question that's still being debated today in the scientific community. Some people argue that even without that incident, Franklin's contribution was minimized anyway. We got to remember, this was a time when women in science faced huge hurdles.
Right. It's like she was battling on two fronts, the mysteries of science and the prejudices of her time.
Exactly. And unfortunately, her story, it mirrors the experiences of so many other women in science whose contributions were overshadowed or completely ignored.
Yeah. It's a reminder that we need to be constantly vigilant, making sure that everyone gets the credit they deserve, regardless of gender or background.
100%. Recognizing and celebrating the contributions of all scientists. It's essential for fostering, a truly inclusive and vibrant scientific community. But let's shift gears a little and talk about the broader impact of Franklin's DNA work. It's not just about, accolades and awards. It's about the transformative effect it had on science as a whole.
Right. Understanding the structure of DNA, it opened up this whole new world of possibilities, like having the instruction manual for life itself.
Exactly. And this knowledge, it's revolutionized so many fields like genetics, medicine. Think about gene editing technologies, CRISPR, which are directly based on our understanding of DNA structure. These technologies are changing how we approach disease treatment and prevention in remarkable ways.
She handed us the tools to rewrite the code of life, right? Leading to advancements we couldn't have even imagined back then.
Exactly. And it's not just about these futuristic technologies. Understanding DNA has given us incredible insights into human evolution, disease mechanisms, even forensic science. It's woven into the very fabric of modern biology.
Wow. It's a testament to the power of basic scientific research. Sometimes the most profound discoveries come from unraveling the seemingly simplest things, like the structure of a molecule.
Right. And speaking of simple yet profound, let's not forget Franklin's work on viruses. Even after leaving King's College, she continued to make these groundbreaking contributions. Her research on the tobacco mosaic virus was instrumental in understanding how viruses assemble and how they function.
So she went from unlocking the secrets of our own genetic code to deciphering the structures of these tiny invaders that can hijack ourselves.
Right. It's a remarkable shift in focus, but it really showcases her incredible versatility as a scientist. And, her work on viruses, it laid the foundation for modern virology, which is, more relevant than ever in our world today.
Yeah, it's almost eerie how her research from decades ago still has such a direct impact on our lives today, especially with the rise of new viral threats.
Yeah, it goes to show that scientific knowledge, it builds upon itself. Each discovery, no matter how seemingly small, can have this ripple effect that extends far beyond its initial scope. And Franklin's work is a perfect example of that.
Absolutely. It's she planted these seeds of knowledge that just keep blossoming, even today. And speaking of blossoming, right, Franklin's career, despite all the challenges she faced, it really flourished at Birkbeck College.
Absolutely. Birkbeck provided a much more supportive environment for her research away from the intense competition and, that gender bias she experienced. At King's College, she was finally able to lead her own research group, focusing on viruses and really making significant advancements in the field.
It's she finally found a place where her brilliance could truly shine without being dimmed by, the prejudices of the time.
Exactly. And shine it did. Her work at Birkbeck, it really solidified her reputation as a leading expert in X-ray crystallography and a pioneer in virology. Sadly, though, her career was cut short when she passed away in 1958. From cancer, possibly linked, to her extensive work with X-rays.
It's a tragic reminder of the risks that scientists sometimes face in their pursuit of knowledge. But even though her life was cut short, her legacy continues to inspire, right?
It really does. It's a story that's a potent blend of scientific achievement, personal struggle, and enduring inspiration. It reminds us that progress isn't always linear, and recognition isn't always immediate, but the pursuit of knowledge, the drive to understand our world, that's a force that can overcome even the greatest obstacles.
That's a powerful thought. But as we kind of delve deeper into Franklin's story, it's impossible to ignore, right, those ethical questions surrounding the use of photograph 51, even though her work was, like, instrumental in Watson and Crick's model of DNA. She didn't get that same level of recognition during her lifetime.
It's a complex issue. It goes beyond just the action of those individuals involved. It highlights those systemic biases that existed back then and sadly still exist in many fields today.
Right. It's like she was pushing against this invisible barrier, trying to break through not just in science, but like in society as a whole.
Exactly. And her story, it serves as a reminder that scientific progress, it's not just about the discoveries themselves. It's not about creating a more just and equitable system where everyone's contributions are valued and celebrated.
Well, like, how do we even begin to reconcile the brilliance of her work with the injustices she faced? How do we make sure that future generations of scientists, especially women, don't have to go through those same obstacles?
That's the big question, isn't it? It starts with acknowledging the past and learning from it. We need to be aware of the biases, the conscious and unconscious ones, and actively work to dismantle them.
It's like shining a light on those dark corners of history, bringing those hidden stories to the forefront.
Exactly. And beyond awareness, we need to create systems that promote fairness, transparency, and inclusivity in science. This means ensuring equal opportunities for all, fostering supportive and collaborative environments, and celebrating the achievements of all scientists.
So it's about creating a scientific landscape where Rosalind Franklin's story, while remembered for its injustices, becomes an outlier, like a reminder of how far we've come, rather than a reflection of the present.
Precisely. And, her story can be this powerful catalyst to change, inspiring us to build a scientific community that truly reflects the diversity of human talent and potential.
It feels like with Rosalind Franklin's story, we've got so many layers. We've got these groundbreaking scientific discoveries, personal struggles, and like this fight for recognition. That's still going on even today.
Yeah, it really makes you think about how we view scientific achievement and, how we make sure that credit is given where it's due.
Absolutely. And it makes me wonder, how do we move towards a more equitable system in science? What can we actually do to make sure everyone's contributions are valued and celebrated?
Well, I think it's a multifaceted challenge, right? And it needs a multi-pronged approach. I think for starters, we need to shift away from this idea of the lone genius in science, because scientific breakthroughs, they're rarely the result of just one person working all alone.
Right. It's more like a symphony, isn't it? With all these different instruments contributing to a harmonious whole.
Exactly. And just like we wouldn't, attribute the success of a symphony to just the conductor or the first violinist, we need to acknowledge the contributions of everyone involved in scientific research.
So, more collaboration, less competition.
In a way, yeah, we need to foster this culture where collaboration is valued just as much as individual achievement. And beyond that, I think we need to be mindful of the language we use when we're talking about scientific discoveries.
You mean like how we tell the stories of science?
Exactly. Instead of focusing solely on this hero scientist, we should highlight, the teamwork, the collaboration, all the individuals who contributed to the breakthrough. And crucially, I think we need to be intentional about recognizing the contributions of those who have been historically marginalized, like women and people of color.
So it's about amplifying those voices that have often been silenced or overlooked.
100%. We need to rewrite the narrative of science to be more inclusive, more representative of the true diversity of those who contribute to scientific progress.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But what about at a more practical level? What kind of systemic changes can we put in place to create a more equitable playing field in science?
Well, there are several things we can do, right? First, we need to make sure that women and minorities have equal access to education and training in STEM fields. This means addressing the systemic barriers that might prevent them from pursuing science careers.
Hey, we need to tackle those gender stereotypes early on, right, in education.
Exactly. We need to encourage girls from a young age to pursue those interests they have in science and math. And once they get to higher education and research, we need to create supportive environments where they feel valued and respected.
So it's not just about getting them through the door. It's about making sure they have the tools and the support to thrive once they're inside.
Exactly. Mentorship programs, networking opportunities, and policies that address things like work-life balance. These are crucial for retaining women and minorities in STEM fields.
Yeah, and I imagine addressing issues like implicit bias and discrimination within scientific institutions. That's key too.
Absolutely. We need to be vigilant about identifying and addressing these issues, both on an individual level and an institutional level. This might involve things like training programs, diversity initiatives, and clear reporting mechanisms for addressing harassment and discrimination.
It's like creating this culture of accountability where everyone feels safe and empowered to speak up against injustice.
Exactly. And this culture of accountability, it needs to extend to how we credit scientific discoveries, authorship guidelines, peer review processes, award committees. They all need to be carefully scrutinized to make sure they're fair and unbiased.
So it's about creating a system where recognition is based on merit, not on who you know or what you look like.
Precisely. And it's about acknowledging the historical context, too.
Mm-hmm.
We need to recognize that the scientific community, it hasn't always been fair or equitable, and we need to actively work to rectify those past injustices.
Yeah, like reevaluating the contributions of those who have been overlooked and acknowledging the role of systemic bias in shaping scientific narratives.
Exactly. It's about being honest about the past and using that knowledge to create a more just and equitable future for science.
That sounds like a long and challenging journey.
It is, but it's a journey worth taking, Creating a truly inclusive and equitable scientific community, it's not just a matter of fairness, it's essential for scientific progress. When we tap into the full spectrum of human talent and creativity, that's when we unlock a world of possibilities.
Right. It's like we're expanding the pool of potential problem solvers, innovators, and visionaries.
Exactly. And who knows what incredible breakthroughs are waiting for us when we create that scientific landscape where everyone feels empowered to contribute their unique talents and perspectives.
I think this deep dive has been incredibly enlightening. We've gone from the intricate structure of DNA to this complex web of social and ethical issues that surround scientific discovery. And at the heart of it all is Rosalind Franklin, this scientist whose brilliance and perseverance continue to inspire.
Yeah, I think her story reminds us that the pursuit of knowledge is this collective endeavor, and it's up to all of us to make sure that this pursuit is guided by principles of fairness, inclusivity, and respect for all who contribute to the advancement of science.
So as we wrap up this episode, I want to leave our listeners with this thought. The next time you come across a scientific breakthrough, take a moment to think about all the individuals who contributed to that discovery. Look beyond the headlines and dig into the stories of those who might not have gotten the recognition they deserve.
And let's all commit to doing our part to create that scientific community where Rosalind Franklin's story, it's not an exception, but a testament to how far we've come in creating a world where everyone's scientific contributions are valued and celebrated.
That's a great point. A great note to end on. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the world of Rosalind Franklin. It's been a truly fascinating journey. 2032 Day.